That's so bad.
I would say.
Okay.
Okay. On the order, the South Thompson Planning Board. Does everybody know who the board is? People on the board? Oh, their names, okay. All right. Any public comments not on the agenda? Any adjustments to the agenda? Okay, would you like to make a comment? Go ahead.
I just want to add, once we're all done, a couple of comments concerning how the planning board operates.
You can do that. Why don't we do that now?
Okay,
And I'm, because I have a few comments as well. I'll go ask you.
okay. At the last, since I started taking minutes, it's hard to take minutes when people don't get called on and then people just shout out. And it would be nice to have a little more order when, so that you or whoever's running the meeting calls on that person and then they talk, because that's the way it should be. Plus it's orderly and people will listen. My second comment is that when you're on Zoom, it's hard for you to run the meeting, I think, especially when there's a large public audience. And perhaps when that happens, you give it to Gabe or somebody else to run it, so they're seeing the people, because so they can call on them. Because it's hard when you're on Zoom, because sometimes you froze up and so it'd be hard to see
I
that.
understand.
And then,
I'll take it into consideration.
okay, and then you also need to, as the chair, since I'm the alternate, tell me that I'm voting. That's the right way to do it, instead of me making that determination, because Travis has to pull out because he has a conflict. You need to say the alternate needs to take that person's place.
All right.
And also, I think the perception in the future, when you have somebody as a board member and they have a business, that they should physically remove themselves from the table and be in the audience or right here, because the perception from people is that they're still, even though they don't say anything and they're not doing anything wrong, the perception is that they're still part of the planning board on that subject. And I think that, and when I took up the training, that's what they suggested. The person removes themselves from the table where the planning board.
I don't think you have a problem, anybody has a problem with that.
And then when that happens, you, as the chair, it says the alternate will take that person's place in voting. So it's clear for people and for me, because when I take the minutes are to record the record of the vote. So I need to make sure that, and that's why I put in Travis abstained, I as an alternate replaced him. So it's pretty clear. But I think the people that are listening need to hear that too. And then my last item was, and I didn't know about it, was there were some emails that came, and I think it was from Gabe that went to the select board. I didn't know anything about it. I've been out of town when the last meeting. And I think those need to be prefaced when we come to a meeting, that this was an email that was sent for information, and give it to us. And my last comment, sorry to be long-winded,
No,
is
okay.
that because I was out of town and I didn't know all the circumstances that were happening with the last blast on the 22nd, and there was no notice, I think the planning board should have mentioned that and said that they're deciding to do X, Y, or Z, or they're not, or that it's just a slap on the hand. But there was no comment, nothing said about that the blast had been done, and there was no notification. It came up with public comment. But we should have been, as a board, proactive and said, this happened, and this is, we're taking things under consideration. We don't, the CEO does any form of punishment, we don't, but we need to talk about it. And nothing was said. And so that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I was also gonna mention about the emails. Everybody else need to go first? Okay, I was also gonna mention about the emails not being shared with the board. The meeting was a little bit chaotic, yes, I agree. There were some violations of the bylaws in here. So please, if you be recognized through the chair, everybody get a chance to speak. Please speak to the chair. And there was also two people in the room, or maybe they weren't, maybe they were on Zoom, I don't know. And they were confronting the members, they had any interest or any, what's the best, what do they call that,
Bias?
A
What's that?
bias or a
Bias.
conflict?
not the bias, but if, you know, if they had any, kind of, not so much the bias, but the, there's a conflict of interest in this. And it was stated by all the board members that they did not. And then some people from the public said that, directed it at me, that I had an interest in his business and that I do not. And that person is either delusional or it's a liar. Okay, let's start right with that. And then another lady mentioned the same thing. They have no knowledge. If somebody's gonna accuse a board member of having a conflict of interest, then they need to have showed this board proof or have facts backing that up, and none of that was done. So at that point, our meeting warded, or maybe did become invalid that night because those situations occurred. We have bylaws here. If every member doesn't have the bylaws, we'll make you a copy tonight. But to challenge me on that, after I said I didn't do it, with no proof, no nothing, wrong. Okay, and I should have an apology from both those people. Okay, any other questions about that? There was another thing was, there was a lot by the town attorney, a lot of prodding and giving a lot of information and kind of running the meeting as a board, not recognized by the chair either. So I appreciate it if everybody would get recognized by the chair and things will go a lot smoother. Okay, next other thing is approval of the minutes from May 15th.
Or before you get to that, you said the meeting was invalid. What do you mean by that?
What I'm saying is, we don't follow our bylaws, then the meeting can become invalid.
Okay, I just want to.
That's what I'm
The
saying.
meeting was not invalid, you know, it was a action of the board.
It could be challenged.
I disagree.
Okay. I'm the chair and I respect you, but I pick up my own personal beliefs.
It's pretty important that the chair not say that a meeting was invalid on the record, or else we have pretty.
Well, you gotta be careful what you do.
I agree, there were some
Okay.
procedural missteps,
That's right.
largely by the fact that the meeting was being chaired on Zoom and it was hard to manage the room.
Well, they also chair meetings on Zoom for select board meetings. Okay, so it's not something that I made up. Okay,
Usually they don't.
well, they have.
Whoever's the chair, if they're on Zoom, they will turn it over to someone.
I understand. I don't mind doing that either, but I'm saying they have done it. I've watched the meetings. Okay. Any other questions about procedures? Does everybody have a copy of the bylaws? I don't know. You don't have one. So we need copies made for everybody that doesn't have one.
I don't have a paper copy. I would take the paper copy.
Okay.
I have a digital
So how
copy.
many do we need, Gabe?
I need Yes, it would for everybody except for,
People, and I have one right here with, you know.
it would be helpful to have a paper copy.
Yes.
Yes,
You're not gonna make copies tonight?
that would be great. If you can, thanks.
Nothing very important.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve the meets May 15th, 2025. Nate,
I don't have any issue with the minutes.
I have issues with it because I don't think everything was put in that I wanted to see. I did write an email to Maura about it, but,
You want
I
to,
have
do
the 4 items put in that you wrote on the email.
you want to just,
yeah,
read them out loud or?
I'll give it.
as they're written right now, I would have to vote.
Is the,
I will send
are the written
Yeah,
bylaw?
I read it, but
I have a question, are the written minutes superseding the video?
Yes,
Okay,
there you go. That's what you go by, the written minutes.
Minutes are not findings, minutes are the vote, a record of the vote
Record of
taken
votes and
and
stuff.
the people that were at the meeting,
But when somebody reviews it, they don't review the tape, they
Right.
review the minutes.
correct? And so I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Okay, I've already stated the conflict of interest thing in there.
Yep.
And then, cause I was questioned about that, there was none. Um. The other question I had about was, Wilson Construction's current approval for song centers of 10/2/24. Encourage the board to review the construction, understanding from 10/24, because a lot of things that were suggested that they wanted the board to bring up tonight have already been addressed. A lot of the public didn't understand that they think the planning board on commercial businesses, that's all we do, okay? We don't do private businesses, code enforcement handles that. So when they say that the planning board only is concerned about commercial, well, that's all we do. We don't do any other things in town. We don't do any building permits for houses or things like that. Okay, and then I got the notes, being difficult input from the public due to, individuals not responding to the chair and speaking over each other. So more addressed all that. So those are basically the things that I had
I
in.
just want that back so I can
Yeah.
put them in some more.
If you wanna do it as amended, that's fine. If you don't, then I'll,
just review it at the next meeting.
No, it should be minutes, no, you can do it as amended, so.
do it amended. If you wanna do it.
It was sent out as everybody, so whoever makes the motion should also say the motion as amended.
Okay. Anybody like to accept the minutes as amended, make a motion?
I will make a motion that the minutes be accepted as amended.
Second,
Any discussion?
no,
Okay.
I guess one item of discussion, as amended, can you describe how you're going to include those comments in the minutes?
They're gonna be put in,
Put it as amendment if you want.
well, no, it'll be put in and, right as in the area where, after you made, before you made the motion about conflict of interest, put it all in that area. Because it was said at
Okay,
that
and you're
time.
going to summarize or you're going to use a
I'm
language?
gonna put
You're
it as he put it in,
Okay,
All right.
because I'm not gonna,
no, it's fine, I was just wanted to know.
You want another email? Okay.
no,
All right. Gabe, all in favor?
Aye.
Val?
Aye.
Travis? Aye. Richard?
Richard can't vote.
Richard, can I vote? More, please?
Well, no, you have a quorum, so you
I'll
don't
say,
need,
I'll accept. Thank you.
yeah, so it's 4-0.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. And the old business we have is, the question, Travis Wilson, you guys have questions for him? And, drafts it over there, so. We can go down that list of questions, Travis.
Before we do, okay, I think we need to address the moratorium issue first, because the moratorium, if applicable, would prevent any review of any further substances.
Well, is this an expansion of the current performance standards?
It is, as defined by the moratorium, because that pertains to, it defines expansion as including increase in the number of blasts and the frequency of blasts. as
Well,
as
I think for reference, we could at least hear these answers.
I don't think you should, because the moratorium expressly prohibits consideration of an application that's covered by it.
Either accept nor approve. No, it's,
Except would be receiving the application,
Yeah,
approving,
no,
and voting on it.
I understand that, but I think,
It's basically moot.
I mean, that's the sort of how I read it, but I think the only question that I would ask is if it might be prudent to, we do have some representatives from the blasting company here.
I think that's a great idea. My suggestion would be to have a workshop and have them come, I think, which was offered, and make it a joint workshop with the select board. So everybody can hear the information and start working on ordinance amendments, which is the whole purpose of the moratorium. This, you know.
But you think
the
that
general
this meeting is
presentation
not a venue to ask, for example, general questions to those people?
That's kind of what I'm getting at. I think a
Okay.
workshop would make more sense. Plus it would be more broadly advertised so that people who aren't just interested in this application might show up. Just a thought. I appreciate that they came and all of that, but might be more effective when it's on an agenda, you know, as a presentation.
And there was one representative at the public meeting, before town meeting, and they didn't get any questions when Travis introduced them. And there was quite a few people at that meeting.
So my concern if we proceed in hearing the application is that at some point there will be a new ordinance in place, or maybe after review, we stick to what we've got and there's nothing, but I don't want any comments or presentation or anything like that to feel like they're binding on the board against that future application and future review.
Because what we understand about the ordinance is that we obviously are not, until that moratorium is lifted, this application as it is cannot be approved.
Correct.
And we don't assume anything about what will come out of the process that takes place during the moratorium, but either way, does this application just sit there and remain during the moratorium, or does it need to be filed again?
Whether it's tabled indefinitely or whether you deny it, I was wrestling with this on the way up. You could table it indefinitely. When the moratorium is lifted, there'd be new standards in place, and then those new standards are gonna apply to the application.
They will become-
Alternative.
Yeah,
Yeah, alternatively, you deny the application, they resubmit. I think the only thing that saves them in the tabling indefinitely is the application fees.
yeah, that's,
Is there anybody in the public here that's, any concerns about this application, hearing these questions? Nobody, is anybody here for the, yes, Travis?
The issue I have, there's been multiple call statements about our operation, about vibration levels, there's been accusations. And I feel that some clarity should be brought to those. Not only for the board, but for the town's sake. Because some of the accusations, given the vibration levels that have been recorded, you wouldn't have felt it if you were standing where they said that there was severe damage. There's a lot of you know, when everybody's complaining about noise or vibration, they're feeling audible resonance, not ground vibration. These are the things that I would like to bring clarity to. I'm not trying to, obviously, we can't prove anything. Obviously, we got a year, 6 months to a year to, before we rehash this, but I've been dragged through the mud by many people in the town. And the code enforcement officer has received many complaints that were unwarranted and proven to be not true. And I feel as though I deserve to show my end of it. And the town should be educated on what actually is taking place up there. Because the accusations that have been made are entirely false.
Okay,
May I comment?
yes,
I agree that points of clarity are definitely required. And I also think what Kristen said, doing it in a workshop is probably the most suitable way of doing it.
okay.
I think
Go ahead. I do know that some of these things have already been addressed in his performance standards that were asked, okay? So I just want to,
Oh, one other thing, or
Yes.
if I may. I emailed the select board yesterday morning and I explained to them that I had representatives from Maine Building Blasting coming, they wanted to attend. Understanding that, we can't get anything approved today, we have a moratorium that's in place. Simply an educational, meeting. Which not one select board member replied to the email. But with that, I also offered that I would pay to have representatives come and do a workshop or a meeting or whatever. But, you know, we were given I didn't get any response to any of it.
okay. That's not
Hence
good.
why,
Yeah, no, we hear you.
yeah,
And I think, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with Val and with Kristen to say that we appreciate that offer, Travis. We appreciate that you paid these people to come here tonight, or that you're there and that they have made the journey. I think having a properly advertised informational meeting with this group of people, and you know, if it's done that way and people don't show up and ask questions, then it becomes on them a little
we
bit.
can do both, like that's wow.
No, I understand. I think that,
We've had this scheduled the last month.
yes, that I understand. And I also understand that the timing of the vote last night was not giving anybody too much notice to make a decision about what to do. But I guess I do agree with Val that I think that a dedicated meeting, without other folks, you know, waiting on applications and proper advertising would be the best venue to sort of start to, you know, benefit from the expertise of the folks who are here. That's my feeling.
Jim, you have a quick question?
I think a workshop's a great idea. I think that I was at the meeting the other night and there was a lot of just one-sided commentary and comments that were being basically dispersed as facts. Where really we don't think the town or even the selectmen have any of those sort of facts as far as what's going on, what the cause and effect is of, you know, Travis's business and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And from my standpoint, I've also been dragged through the mud sometimes by, you know, neighbors and their comments being taken by the town as truth when they're not, and then there's no consequence after. I understand Travis's frustration with that, and you know, the planning board is the only representation that businesses have in the town for a voice. I think in this clear case, typically, I think all the information needs to be presented, and particularly the select board and whoever's on the ordinance committee should be at that workshop and meeting, so when they're trying to decide this new ordinance, that they have all the facts in front of them and can make a fair recommendation for the ordinance.
Great. Well, there's been a lot of facts that have been stated that there's no backup for them, a lot of statements, I agree with.
And what,
Go ahead.
sorry, oh,
No, that's
you
it.
first, you started twice. So you.
Well, I like your answer, because I'm thinking about something else. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, just as a follow-up there, I think, you know, there's a lot of data, for example, in these blasting reports. But, if there is, you know, data, numbers, information, even if it seems opaque or confusing. That backs up, that backs up your argument, Travis, or just needs to be entered into the record. Beyond what's in these blasting reports, I just recommend or request that, it's better to have way more information than anybody expected than it is to feel like we don't have enough information.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Yeah,
We came loaded prepared, and everything should be pretty ironed out.
Okay,
And then we have a copy of everything, the board, of all the information that you can possibly give us.
Yeah, if you can assemble more and send it along,
I think there's definitely additional stuff we should take a look at.
Yeah, and if there's just any more information that you find germane, I think we would like to have.
You
Um,
made, okay.
Go ahead, yeah.
You made the comment that people felt something that probably couldn't or shouldn't. I think that gets us into sound waves versus vibration. And it gets into PPV, and it then gets into what is the expected range of the ground vibration and how far can it travel? Because years ago, they did a blast at Dragon, and 3 miles away, the church in Thomaston had a problem, steep rail. So I think we need to clarify what people are feeling, as you've said, and we need to understand it so that people basically know what they can and can't say and what questions they should be asking.
Yeah.
So as Dave said, the more information you can provide will be better for everybody.
that's why these guys are here.
No, we understand that that's your goal, but I think bringing that in the form of people is good. Like adding it on in the form of anything written is also valuable. But yes, I think we understand that you intend to provide it. At least I understand.
at this point, I'd like to make a motion that we. Go ahead.
My name is Gil Erickson. I'm the closest property to Mr. Wilson's quarry, about 1,200 feet away from my property is. I've been at every meeting. I'm sure he's referring to me about one of the people, the neighbors that are complaining about his business. The other night at the town meeting, I stood up and I said, I'm not here to talk about Mr. Wilson's quarry. I suggested perhaps none of us should be talking about Mr. Wilson and his quarry. We need to be talking about something that the attorney for the town brought to the town's attention, that there weren't adequate ordinances to understand and police or manage any negative ramifications from the quarry being in operation. It seems that there's a lot of conversation that's misplaced. It should be being brought together, all of us. That's why I haven't said anything yet this evening. This isn't the place for this conversation. That's why the moratorium was requested and approved. The attorney will tell you, she just tried to tell you, that part of the moratorium is that there is a hold on his application to extend or additions to his quarry. The town asked for that to go through by 50 some odd to 20 some odd votes. I do not understand the flavor of what's in this room at the moment with that out there.
If you wait a second, I will.
Thank you.
Okay, what I was about to say was this concern about having a meeting with the selectmen, a workshop. I'd like to get a motion to that effect. And so I can make the motion that if the selectmen can find a date that they can meet with us, they can notify me and then Terry, and then they can notify you people about this, and you guys would have to sort of fortunately come back. And I'm sorry that you came here, but I think we need a motion on a vote on that. As far as up or down, whether we want to hear any testimony from these men tonight.
So I think, did you
Before
make a
that-
motion or?
Before that motion is put forward, does that exclude anyone from having any comments?
Tonight,
Yes.
that would close it out. Well, you can have discussion on that afterwards. You can always do that. But I think the thought is to have a workshop with the selectmen, if they can be available. And make themselves available, and we'll have a public notice and we can have a workshop with them.
Very good.
Yes, ma'am?
Carol Craftsman. Would it be prudent to include in that workshop the members of the ordinance committee, since they will be the ones working on any future issues? I'm just asking.
They can be invited too as well. Gabe's on it already.
Yeah, as a member of that committee, I say,
So
yeah.
Jeff, so.
Yeah.
either-
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Fine with me.
Well, many of the members would be there by default because they're on other
Okay.
committees,
All right.
but yes,
I can't make a motion for that fact, but the
No,
other
no,
thing.
yeah,
Just
all right.
wondering if that.
So the motion is tonight is to have a meeting with the selectmen and the public. We have a workshop and get answers to these questions and any others that we need to. And they can come back again and we can schedule that at some point. When they can attend, when the selectmen can attend, when the planning board can attend. We don't know that date yet. But it should be, I would say within the next week or two, probably get some. You gotta have 1 week at least.
complying with the public notice.
Public notice, you have to have 1 week. So I don't know when the selectmen are meeting again,
Tuesday.
Tuesday, maybe we could come over Tuesday and query them on that. But
We have the 4th of July, so we might want to give ourselves a couple of.
that's what I'm saying, a couple of weeks.
Yes.
I got a question, but is this one by you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
All right, so
I would,
do we have a
so
second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Do you have any more? Anybody got any more? Okay. So, ready to vote on that? Gabe,
I,
I'm gonna say no. Richard?
Aye.
No, okay, very good. We'll let you know, Travis. I'd like to hear you out, but that's it.
And we also need a vote to table them indefinitely, which has more.
Okay.
I'll move the table this application definitely in accordance with the recently passed moratorium.
Yeah, can I add one more little thing?
Please
that,
do.
Maybe a finding that because the application seeks additional flats, that qualifies as an expansion under the moratorium.
I will make a motion, I try not to mess it up, that this application, which seeks an additional number of blasts, qualifies as an expanded operation under the moratorium and therefore shall be tabled indefinitely.
That is perfect.
Sweet.
We have a second for that.
I'll second.
Second it. Any further discussion on that? Call for vote. Gabe?
I,
Me? No. Richard?
I lost me there, but I'll go with Gabe, I guess.
Okay. Aye, all right, very good. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
yeah, thank you for coming in. Sending in this information.
Good. First time?
Thank you, please.
Mr. McNabb? You're up now. Would you mind just telling the board briefly what you're planning on doing? Your business?
I'm a jeweler of metals, and I bought the old schoolhouse and I'm working on getting it up to a studio space for me to make jewelry. I brought some, I don't know if we went into the seat.
Sure, if it work.
Oh, yeah.
Place up for you down there. What? Who did the?
Rebecca Richards, she's done house lifting business and from her father on. I do a lot of life and
Nice.
found objects.
What kind of equipment are you using to do that?
I've got a small
Very nice.
torch, charcoal casting, rubber metals. Right now, I'm not intending to do any metal castings in or around the building.
Mhm.
I have casters I work out of state with and
So you're making molds and they're casting.
yeah, and then I put together all the jewelry pieces and make earrings and whatnot. That I intend to sell out on Vinyl Haven and because I have family out there and hopefully in Rockland at some point, maybe some pop-ups.
But not selling jewelry out of the building.
Not the intended, yep.
Is the septic already in place?
Yep, there's a septic and the only byproduct that might be harmful if you don't put baking soda in it is the mild acid that I work with to clean and polish those
That
silver.
was what I was gonna ask, what portion working with?
It's called pickle, and it's a very common chemical for with it, yeah, most metalworking.
What do you do with that when you're done with it?
It's a preservative, basically, right? More
Well,
to
it cleans off
things that,
the small layer of organic material on the metals, keeps it shiny. And then baking soda keeps it from it neutralizes it.
Yes.
And never want to pour it down your sink because it's a whole heat through metal. So
They're
it
just
takes a long time.
their disposal sort of protocol for that.
Yep.
What is it, just so we know?
Baking soda and water and technically the septic system has been approved for that level of waste. Not saying this the right way, but it's generally you put baking soda into it and then you can get rid of it through most cities' septic systems. The septic system that was put in by Janfish was approved for acrylic paints and other artist materials. So
Okay,
that covers that.
I think that's sort of the only concern I can think of with this type of business.
Yeah.
To my sense, otherwise, full stop. I think we want to just run through the performance standards.
I can do that if we'd like to do that. We need to notify you butters within 500 feet for this little operation. I don't. So we won't do that. And basically you're gonna be there, shipping it in, shipping it out, no traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, you can run through the performance standards if everybody's in agreement.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. So I got your name. You're at P.O. Box 68, you have a seat, and we got a question last year. And then this was located at 664 Brookshead Road.
Yeah.
Okay, it's home occupation jewelry business.
Yeah.
It's in the Village 1 district down there. I believe that's what it is. And I believe your application is complete, got all your, so. Look at that. Look through that already. Good.
I will say that I don't have my business website set up, but if people are.
Not necessary for this part of the
Okay,
thing. Okay. It already has a driveway to the street, so you don't need an entrance permit. Okay. And so there'd be no, any DEP review for this required?
I think so. Other than the
Chemicals are in it.
Do you have it? Do we have a copy of the septic design? We do, right here. Yeah. Got it.
Okay, we don't need a review on impacts on wildlife, it's inside. Correct?
Yep.
Any other concerns or do you need a license for this, to do this, or
I
business
got-
license, or?
I've got a business license for it.
Okay, I'm gonna put that down, business license. Okay. Okay, the planning board, it's in a approved zone for this. The planning board is given jurisdiction. to Review the application of land use ordinance. I'm gonna read some of the stuff and it's. We go through with everybody. The produce for commercial jewelry making. Authorized in the Village 1 zone. And may be conditioned by the board based on the above findings. The planning board maintains jurisdiction to review the application before it. Okay, the applicant's name, how do you say your first name?
Hawkshurst.
Okay, we have, you have a deed, I saw that here.
Yep.
For the property. And, it's located at map 2, page, map 2, lot number 29. Okay, based on the above findings, the applicant's right title of interest, and therefore stand in good stand of the application. The land use on properties in the village one. Application request by the commercial jewelry business, this repeats itself a little bit. Proposed operation is commercial. Okay, it's not industrial. But mention that you permit the planning board is special exemption conditional use. Based on the above finding, the proposed use is permitted in this village one district. Property is in the village one district. Okay. Number 4 down there, the land use findings compliance with dimensional requirements. Does it meet it? It has to be 1 acre. This property is only 0.13, so that answer would be a no. It doesn't affect the total thing, that's all you got. We do take that into consideration. Okay, any questions about the size of the lot? Questions?
I
Okay,
think, yeah, I think we can just say that's an existing non-conforming lot.
okay. Here, just can you get more non.
Yeah.
Okay, can't make it more no, correct. Okay, just.
So what you got, that's all you're gonna get.
Okay. Okay, not a campground. Okay, lighted shall be. Any exterior lighting shall be shielded to prevent any glare on adjoining residential property, private rights of way. So you can't have light shining out, you gotta shine down. Okay? Yes. Industrial use. Outdoor storage materials, products, vehicles to be screened from view. That's NA. No junk cars, no things that need to be screened. Off-street people required spaces determined by the planning board to eliminate on-street parking. So you can't have any on-street parking there. How many spaces do you have?
Not for 2 cars.
2 cars. I'll put 2 wheels. You have it.
Do you expect anyone to come as you as a wholesaler to visit you? Or are you just gonna sell retail? Well, people through pop-up and things like that?
I'm planning on doing pop-ups, but, I don't know yet.
Okay,
If you could make additional parking, you can always come back and ask for more space.
Yeah.
Okay. Based on the file, the proposal fit complies with performance standards, no conditions. Additional conditions, the plan board may, in order to carry out the purpose of special exemption, proceed, require additional conditions, specifications, criteria, standards necessary to protect the public interest to be fit such harmoniously and capably within the neighborhood and locations. Such conditions may include but not limited to. Okay. You have a setback of it. Probably you don't, 6 feet from the property lines of your neighbors,
I believe I do have
6 feet. Okay, that's good.
At least.
All right, but that's a state requirement, and from roads it's 6 feet, I'm thinking of the buildings back a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not on a body of water?
Nope. No.
Oh, yes. Okay, comply with state and main setbacks, provide additional setbacks from any dwelling or existing time permit totaling. We need any additional setbacks other than 6 feet, okay?
Good luck.
Relative boundary lines and clearly marked by a licensed surveyor, so you have pins. You have it's marked, your lot is described, we got the deed, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's on here.
I
Okay,
got the posts.
does it have water?
Yeah.
That's a well.
Yeah.
Okay, septic there?
Yep.
And do you know the capacity of the system?
It's on here.
I believe it's, yeah,
I'm reading here.
can't remember off the top of my head.
Does it say this? 11 foot by 20 foot this.
The page that has the
Yeah,
volume.
But nobody lives there now, right? You're not living with the new, just you or.
It's just me.
But even, it's a 1-bedroom apartment and you
Yeah.
have to have a minimum of 2-bedroom septic, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
adequate. It's got
if you could provide that to us, I would say yes there. It has a
Yeah, I would
septic.
just send in the rest, if you could send in the rest of the septic design, like the other sheets.
Whatever you had, what other information you had, when you bought it or whatever you did.
Terry, would that be on file?
Might be.
Okay.
If you have any information on that, that would be great. I'm not gonna hold it up for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Impact on quality groundwater conditional requirement. There's no impact on groundwater.
No, I think we covered it. We're not worried about the chemical.
Okay. Visual screening, operation will be visible from abutters to town road, will the business be visible from the town road and abutters? Use your business, you like to have visibility, so I'll say yes on that. Okay, condition requirement, commercial industrial operation is, or equipment is stored, visible adjacent dwellings, fencing or landscaping, screening, shrubs,
Maybe we should get the net.
berms will be installed. Yes, no, and not applicable,
I don't think that's required.
It's,
not
they've
applicable.
done a lot of landscaping there over the last couple of weeks, and it looks
Yeah.
Nice.
like decent.
Yeah.
So, landscaping, we'll just require, I'm gonna say NA.
Yeah, that's
Alright,
fine.
yeah.
There's nothing to be, there's nothing stored outside that needs to be screened, so.
Good, work went out front, that was pretty good, actually. What was better they did?
It was the foundation stones that just put them
So
outside.
they did, yeah, yeah.
They did the
That's the old
foundation.
schoolhouse from way back when.
Yeah. Sure, everyone knows it.
Okay. Operation type of service specifically limited to the scope of the application. Increased scope will require a new updated permit to approve the increased scope by the planning board. So normal parking, you gotta come back and see us.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or, for example, you wanna open that as a retail location.
something like that, yeah. If you wanna change it,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you now. Number of employees,
Don't have any other.
do you anticipate having some help or anything?
Not at
Now's the
all.
time to get it.
But yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, put two in there, you put together a tire someday just in case.
Okay. I mean,
That way you don't have to come back to that, all right?
all right.
Security, you there, so do you have cameras, lighting, anything like that?
Not at the moment.
Would you like cameras and lighting at some point maybe?
There is a motion sensor lighting on the
Okay.
building.
That's another
that
question
is
for that.
semi-functional.
Okay.
Just in case you make it functional, we'll put it on there, we'll put it on the application.
Okay. Okay, now. Assume you know, there's different, about 4 different hours of operation. So the, Monday through Friday, what time would you want to open and close your business?
Since I'm not planning on selling out of that building,
You work at night?
I work at night, yeah.
How late do you normally work at night?
When I'm paying attention, it's usually till 1, maybe.
Okay. What time do you come in the morning? What time do you, like, nobody's really gonna
I
say,
usually come in around 10 in the morning.
so, okay, so why don't we make it 9 to 2? Keep it in the same day. 23. That's shipping, 11:30,
Okay.
okay.
But you're gonna, are you gonna be living there? Can you-
Yep.
Oh, how does, yeah,
Yeah,
when you work, yeah,
Yeah.
what's it all for working or slaving, you know?
Take it to your kitchen.
Cooking dinner.
Okay.
It's a 750 gallon tank.
Okay, we can do that.
Did it put the gallonage for the, yeah,
And it was 186 for the house and 20 for the tea shop.
And it's noted that it's only 750.
yeah, that's the tank size, we're not the daily users.
Right, but
200 GPP it was.
Thank you. Good. You gonna work there Saturdays, Sundays, same hours?
Yeah,
It's fine,
I
yeah.
mean, I need to put in a water system that
Yeah,
has clean water for me to live there, but
so you'll be working day, you're not gonna be working daylight only, so that's no, yeah, be night too. Holidays, work on holidays, Thanksgiving, you know. Juneteenth, so we'll say the same hours,
yeah.
30.
Are you, did you just say you're replacing the well or just the,
I'm putting in a water filter system
okay,
for the well.
So with that, you'd like to operate 365 days?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say number of off-street parking places, you have 2 right now. Lighting, I gotta go over that again with you. Okay, you're gonna have some lighting with motion detectors, yes, no? Still gonna be just downward facing, you can have them.
Yep.
Okay,
Just down for a second.
all right. All exterior lights with downward facing, this is a statement, limit sufficient. For equitable safety security, your light is that. I mean, turn them off, but I mean. All signs must comply with town ordinance, appropriate size with the distance from the road corner requirements. Signs may be used to advertise and ensure safe movement, security. Provide unlighted sign, maximum 4 by 4 feet. Okay. Okay, noise will not exceed 665 decibel to the nearest property line. Okay, no hammering. You don't agree with that?
Yeah, don't sneeze.
You're staring at
So as far
You
as,
plan on having a sign? We sort of skipped over that.
I don't yet, since I'm not planning on selling out of the building, but
It's probably to your advantage not to have a sign.
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably would be good if they did have people following.
Yes.
Because most people would probably see it and
Want to start
park on the side of the road, which.
okay,
Okay, we just,
Not approved.
I'm gonna leave it in there because in case you have a small sign, you're 100 bid or
that's,
something.
yeah, it's okay. Here's as a follow. There's some ordinance provision
Okay.
about where it's gotta
That's
go.
why we got to cover that.
Yeah.
Operation to create emissions dust beyond the property line, so this is gonna be applied during construction and phase of the project. So that will be NA, it's all built,
Yep.
no dust, so it's not applicable.
I am planning on putting in a air filtering system that exits the building, but will be on the edge of the building.
Okay. All right, the fan basically.
Yeah.
Require resurfacing and access road, water tenting to mitigate dust, halt operations for the wind directions, so that's, it's not favorable to operations, so that's gonna be inapplicable. Okay, no odor, right? Okay. Vibration commission requirement, it's not any kind of rock crushing and everything there, so that's NA vibration.
Mhm.
You have to worry about that, the 10 days notice, because there's not gonna be any. Okay, get into nuisances here, quickly. See operational notes, conditions, also concerns, planning board, due to the nature of operations listed above. So you're gonna have a maximum of 2 parking spaces now. And safe off street. Now, as far as turning around, there's no turn around there, no. They back out, back in, turn in. Vehicle pedestrian requirement operation will be limited to conditions approved. And these performance standards with regard to the hours, day, light of operations. We've already talked about that. So we're gonna say, yes, you agree to that. Your more hours of operation. If required, access to the public will be restricted, controlled, or secured. That means you have a lock on your door, you know, people, you know that somebody's there.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody's coming in there without your knowledge. Okay. Okay. Is there adequate capacity on other roads? I believe there is. A couple more cars.
2 cars.
Any more driveways planned? No.
Hit it.
Don't have room for it. Okay, so gonna ask these questions. Professional and safe operations consistent with the proposed use. Is there any safety in terms of operations that we need to know?
I would assume you would have at least 2 fire extinguishers on the premise.
Yep, already got them.
Very good.
2 fire extinguishers.
That's sort of all we're worried about.
Yeah.
Chemicals, fire extinguishers.
And 25 pounds of baking soda.
Yeah, keep your baking soda stocked up.
I think I'm the biggest health risk of it all.
You have all other approvals that you need from like state or town, so forth,
So,
in place. License prior to operation, do you have that? Yes,
I
ma'am.
just have one question on the chemicals. Do you have to keep a file? You don't have to? Well, business is-
Things are very mild.
yeah.
But even
It
in
does
the grocery store, you have to have it for
Do you have
windows.
SSD sheets?
No. It just, the, pickle just dries out your skin, that's the worst it does. It can eat through metal, but.
Does the state require you to keep records?
No.
Okay. So
I had in a hobby shop.
I can make a note in here for something you're concerned if you'd like.
It's just that most businesses, you have to have those on file.
Right,
If OSHA came in,
Yeah,
I ran grocery stores, we
Yeah.
had to have it on everything.
that's why you don't mix it with the kitchen.
But it's just,
But I
if
think
you ever had an employee and they use something, you want them to, just as education.
but for tax purposes, you're gonna have all your receipts of everything that you
Yeah.
buy, so you will have a tracking record.
I will have a tracking record of my receipts.
okay. Does anybody wanna add anything, just like a tracking record or anything to this?
Just make sure, you know, just receipts for your chemicals.
Yeah, OSHA can't touch him because he doesn't have employees.
Well, he did put down 2, even though he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
That's
But
why I
good for that, but yeah.
this does in the future.
Okay. Are all licensed, plate prior to operations?
Seems like it.
Right, okay, fine, of course, I'll say yes. Okay, fire department asks, South Orange Fire Chief will verify the site has access to adequate prior to the commencement of operations. The project must meet state main codes for the intended use. So I'm saying you gotta, if there's any state laws, you gotta comply with those. Fire chief, he can get a truck on the road there near you. So if he has any concerns, Terry will notify him to let, he may stop by to check with you.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not a problem. Okay, having limited to mineral disturbance activity to a maximum 2 acres. So that's gonna be erosion control, groundwater, fuel storage, reclamation is not applicable in this case. Maintenance inspector of sewer facilities, no additional compliance unless a need for expansion, okay? So I'll say it's yes and no applicable on that one. I'd say NA. There's no way to expand to. Atlas agent comply with all federal and state required, this is just a statement, and any other additional conditions, okay? Read that. Okay. I'm gonna read, I think it's time to get a motion.
I move to approve this application per the performance standards we just discussed.
Second,
Okay, Gabe,
Aye.
Herb, aye. Richie? Aye. Aye, okay. Okay, so that decision is gonna be 5 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstained. I had to read you this statement here. The South Torrance Land Use Section 5, paragraph 4, Section 4, paragraph B5, permission shall not be denied if the proposed use is found to be in conformance with the provision of this ordinance. So, okay, so that just tells you that we, in the public, we can't deny you as long as you stay within this permit. I'll get this to Terry in a few days. She'll have it on file here. We're gonna date this for 6/19/25. I'd like to say good luck with your enterprise down there.
No.
Here's the.
Thanks for bringing in the examples too. Thank you.
Next up is
Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Yeah, really, come on.
Why don't you talk a little bit what you want to do?
Well, I wanna, move my farm. I have an organic fruit and vegetable farm. And I've been in business 12 years now. I started off leasing land in Brunswick. I moved to Union in 2018 with a couple other, farming partners. And it was a large property that kind of, as they dispersed, I for a more manageable.
Your own space, yeah.
Yeah, land size for me. So. It's fruits and vegetables and herbs. I sell the Rockland Farmers Market. And to a couple with the Good Turn Market when we have some crops. Beyond the farmers market.
Mhm.
Some things we do like cured garlic and dried flowers, dried flower bouquets. I do have an online store that I sell to, which I take to the either UPS or the post office. So the process to get there is I applied for a DOT permit, but I applied as a home. Not as a home-based business, which was my ignorance when I put the permit in. So DOT approved that, but I just,
You need to get reworded for DOT.
yes, and they
Okay.
signed it Wednesday, and I went to get an email copy of it yesterday, which they said, but their offices were closed. I think we had a miscommunication, so they They said they're gonna email it next business day, so I'll have it tomorrow.
By that, the first of the week, the town office is closed until Monday.
Right, 'cause it's Friday, yes, yeah, so I'll get it from them tomorrow. And I'll-
Before we go any further, do you have any association with the Agricola Farm in Union?
No, I met them at some,
Okay,
yeah, but no.
all right, thank you. That's my family, that's why I wanted.
Oh, it is? Yeah, I think I met somebody at a chamber meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay, yeah. Just wanna make sure, you said you work with farmers there. I
I
wanna make sure, right. Okay, that's good. Want to disclose that. And, where is this actually located again? It's,
By saltwater fields, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Budding? They're right next to her, or is it
It's
one removed,
two removed.
two removed, okay.
Yeah.
You know, what's doing, there's somebody doing some kind of gold there right now, that
That's me, so yes,
I can't
yeah.
particularly, I just had to see something was going on.
Yeah, I jumped ahead of myself getting the fruit trees in before I seemed to have everything approved. I thought I could get the orchard going and everything and have the farm there, not thinking I was doing business on the property, so now I recognize that.
Plant trees, plant trees,
Yeah.
Yeah, harvest, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so 5 years they're intended for a fruit harvest, yeah.
okay, before we go through the performance standard, I'd like to make a suggestion. Has the abutters been notified?
And what?
The abutters.
The,
Abutters within 500 feet of your.
Property owners
oh,
on the other
yes,
side.
I have the right of way through.
Well, what I'm saying, has a letter been written? Maybe,
Probably worth.
I think,
Can I add, do you feel that through?
There was no letter, it was, we reached out and talked to us by phone, email. And have some,
Yes,
no letter, official, but.
yes,
well, there's a couple people over there that we probably should notify, is what I'm saying,
yes.
from previous experience. Yes,
I dealt
Jim.
with Bill or the barber across the street, and I have any idea what's going on, so
Okay,
I think officially a letter would be.
okay. And by the official letter, do you think like a letterhead?
We have them here.
Okay.
Get with Terry on that,
Okay,
and then they have just the people within 500 feet of your property.
okay, okay,
Okay, so I'd like to do that, make that a requirement first,
okay.
and then if you could get your entrance permit to us. And then, is there anything else the board would require? Yes, Ms. Moore.
A map and lot number for the property.
It's on the,
I didn't see it on this application. It
Oh, wait a
has-
minute.
Oh, it's not.
It's not on this,
No, it's not on this, we need that. It's 6.6 acres, that,
309 St. George, but it doesn't have a map for.
well, let's get that. And then,
I have it right there.
I think I have the survey, but I've been coming to get copies of the map.
it
and
would
lot
be the
number.
town, yeah, they have that.
Okay.
On the website,
Website too,
town website.
Yes, okay.
okay? Not really concerned about the book, yeah, that's good.
So hard to read, the legend says. It probably does, but it's illegible, printed so small.
Okay.
Have to look at it so many times.
You just see if it's on your,
On the deed.
on the deed, real quick. The lot, book numbers here, page is here. We need the lot map number again, sorry about that. We have the other one. So. I think at this point, Jennifer, we'll probably. You can tell you, come back next month
Okay,
with the information.
okay,
I don't think it's gonna be a big problem, but we need to give our neighbors a notification
okay.
and,
Yeah, and I think I just have a couple of questions too,
Yeah.
that we wanna maybe get answered, and I'm,
Sure.
it's just sort of not reading this totally
we
clearly.
wanna build a building,
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
two buildings here,
okay?
at least, right?
There's two,
Two
yeah,
buildings that are not greenhouses, and then there's some greenhouses, is that right?
yes.
And those are number F1
Pavilion, yes.
pavilion. And then what's the other one? Give me a second.
And platform you're thinking about?
No, there's a 20-foot by 20-foot square, is that H3? No,
Yes, that's. Or,
which is the, what is it, what is that? Where is that?
Those are,
The A2, B1, B.
D2 and D3.
D2, D3.
So yes, okay, so this is,
Oh, tool shed, tractor shed, wash pack cooler. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. So the three buildings are D2, D3, and F1.
yes, and I'll say so what's happened with D2 and D3 is that the wash pack, tractor, tool shed are all in one building and the others intended to be my home.
Okay.
So the D, which one was it?
Either way, it's two buildings and they're still the same size. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is this, and how big are they?
They are 10 by 20.
10 by 20. Okay.
That's.
Compact.
Which one are they now? The D2, D3?
Yes.
Yeah. And then D1 is a greenhouse.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get a picture of what this really looks like just a second.
There's
And-
that is the main road up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the F1 open air pavilion timber frame. What is the function of that space?
That is to have like drawing tables and to bring in crops that, I mean, it's kind of like when my family comes for a holiday to have like a overhang.
Yeah, bigger than a 10
it's a
by
cool
20
spot
place for them to,
pull out
yeah,
the
yeah.
field. Yeah,
And then the H3, H2, H1, tent platforms, those are for use by you and your family, or who's using those?
yeah, so, that. I'm gonna have up to two employees seasonally, and they're wall tent material, so
Mhm.
they're. It's possible that I could offer housing for somebody to stay there. At the other farm, we had people that would come and camp, so I have these tents that I got that used to be a part of the commercial business.
Mhm.
One
So
question I have about
I don't have
that.
any intention to.
In the land use ordinance at South Thomaston, there's a limitation how long somebody can camp. It's usually like a couple weeks.
Okay,
So if it's gonna be longer than that,
okay,
they can move out for a night and then come back.
okay,
I would just
Yeah,
review,
yeah.
review the land use
We can't
ordinance section
more
on
than 2 weeks.
individual private campsites.
okay,
Because there is like it was updated,
yeah,
a couple of years ago, and it has, I don't think it's, I think it might, I don't remember I don't remember off the top of
It's
my
a
head.
couple weeks anyway.
But there is a limitation, and the limitation is after a certain point, you need to have like a septic facility for that.
okay,
But if you have, for example, like you have a bathroom compost toilet in C3. If that's, an approved alternative to a septic for the number of.
Having a septic field there, you said you're planning on living there, right?
yeah, so the subject is not numbered, but just below C2 is where there's two blank blocks,
Yep.
and those are intended utility.
Oh. So you could theoretically have like a bathhouse or something.
Have you got a perk test there, you
No,
No.
no.
Go ahead, all about it.
This is really far
Yeah.
phased out, so I don't think I
They
should
should
start
do-
you
building
probably
until
did
the end of
something,
twenty.
You probably bought it with a soils test.
Yes, I have a soil tested, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Fire code
Oh, yeah, so it says utility and sewer, okay, and that sewer is. Yeah, okay,
Theoretical.
it's theoretical, and it theoretically allows you to, if you needed to have people stay there 5-6 months or something, then you would probably have to implement that septic system and provide access to those people to facilities.
Yeah.
Attached to the septic system, I think that's basically all it says in the
Okay,
ordinance,
okay,
just be mindful of that.
okay, thank you.
And then,
Is there a well on the property?
That's what's sketched out for below C2. So yeah, for the next 18 months, the plan is driveway, plant. And well, so irrigate, get the crops in place and start on the building pads. That's at the end of 2026.
You can do this in phases if you need to.
Yes,
You get
phases.
approval for
Like
five.
6 years of phases that were like
Or
that.
you gotta keep coming back, excuse me, keep coming back to the planning board.
question about sit and wander, sit and visit.
Oh, yeah,
I guess the question is like, the overarching question that I have is there's like. all of this looks like a very, like, it looks like it's like gearing up to turn into an event facility, or like it's like well positioned to do that. And if it, we just should know if that's the plan, and if it isn't, if it is, you know, there's just more restrictions that come with that, as you know. And I think that's just, that was the question that was raised. Sort of the first time I saw this document, whenever it came through in the application, was, you know, we just want to understand what the intent is.
Yeah, I recognize I should have done some editing to things like food service and commercial kitchen. I have a commercial kitchen that I rent in town, and that's a part of my business, but that's not intended to come here.
Mhm.
There's no plan for this to be a commercial place, but so the sit and visit context is, they're gonna be crop rows, and then that bigger plot, things will be edible and harvestable like herbs, but it's planted more in a way where there's a place to sit. I hope my family will come to visit to spend time.
Yeah,
My friends will come, and
of course, yeah.
instead of learning on like the,
Yeah, no, it like would be a good thing to call something in your event
So
facility.
you need to kind of, here, but this is the land use. So Tom's, have you read through that, looked through it?
try to read through it for as much as my operation.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's, like I said, the restrictions on the campers and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, I didn't get there because I wasn't thinking it in any way
Okay.
commercial campsite, but I get it, if my brother-in-law doesn't work in the summertime, so if he were to come set up camp for 6
Right.
weeks in a tent, I would need to consider.
Okay.
And then it's, I mean, it's the same question, like on the, there's like a park, there's like what looks like a little parking lot, and then some boat racks and a boat, like.
Yeah,
I
I
just-
thought
I
I was
like-
gonna bring my kayaks and my canoe from the other farm. I was on a big farm and I wasn't sure what was coming with me and what wasn't. So this is a design as I was moving up. I think I had 4 kayaks and a canoe, but I ended up selling them to the person.
Well, I mean, you're welcome, I mean, you got a waterfront lot, you're welcome to have some kayaks and canoes, but
Yeah,
it's
so
just,
I like that. I hope I'm wearing my family for summer place.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
The city and the time. I grew up on a family farm and we sold that farm. So I'm trying to make a place for them to come.
no, that's all fine, it just.
It might be in your best interest to not include all of your personal things. It's just what's gonna be for your business.
Okay, yeah,
Because like,
okay.
all the personal things are just add questions and
Sure.
concerns.
sure.
Whereas if you just show
We
what's.
don't even deal with personal things.
Yeah.
You don't need approval to, or put a boat rack up for you,
Okay.
You get a building
but
permit
you
from
do
the, whatever
need
you
it for
were,
your business.
It's such a
Yeah.
blank space, I
Yeah.
wanted you to see all
from
the,
the code enforcement officer.
Yeah,
all the potential things that would be,
I think that actually would be helpful, you could even just circle them on this document, like,
okay,
which of this stuff is business?
Yeah.
yeah,
So we know what we're really voting on, and then, you know, if you could be, you know, be conservative, you know, things that you are going to use for both, like, you should tell us.
sure,
Or even just list out, like, you're gonna have X amount of square feet of area for this and X amount for this and that. And I think let's be,
okay.
the plot plan's cool, it just adds a lot of real questions.
Looks like a good project, man.
I mean, I think,
I'm
so then,
excited about it.
okay, well, I think those were the only questions that I had.
So we need, if you can kind of distinguish what's gonna be personal use next time, we're gonna need your entrance permit, what else we want?
Map.
That law.
There's
And the
also.
butter notification.
Auto identification. People live around you,
Okay,
you notify them, so they can come to the planning board meetings,
okay,
okay?
okay, yeah,
Get all that stuff.
okay.
Jennifer, I have a question. G2 is, stairs and boat slide to the water.
Yeah,
How close is G3 and G4 to the water?
I
What's
have like a
G3?
little fire pit,
Right, but how close is it to the water?
well, we took. And a fire could be within the 250
You can
feet?
go within 75.
Go to the
75.
75.
Okay, okay.
Of the high water mark.
You start with,
If this is your line, all
We
this,
would always add at least 10 to the buffer, at least.
so.
But
This
the
is
stairs and the
clearly
boat
isn't the
slide,
scale.
No, it's not to scale.
the stairs and the boat slide, though, I'm sure
that's a,
you can get a different permit for that inside the setback.
You should want to
30 of it.
You need a DEP permit for that, yeah.
Okay,
But anyway, that's a DEP thing.
okay.
Yeah, as long as you're staying above the high water mark, you can, do that very easily with a permit by rule. If you go below the high water mark, that's different. It's a little bit more tricky.
So you wanna do something, get permit by rule and
So when you redo this, can you show that this stuff is behind the 75-foot mark?
Yeah, draw those setbacks on there would be helpful.
That just should be.
Doesn't have to be to scale, just show us what's on what side of what.
It is, yeah, yeah. That's right.
any other questions the board has for her tonight? We'll probably get more at the next meeting.
Last one is, what are these funny sort of shark fin shaped things that are lining behind B2
In H3.
and H3? Just like, what are those?
Landscape path that I was trying to.
Okay, like.
No structure though.
Cool
No
stepping, cool stepping
structure,
stones.
yeah.
All right, no worries.
Garden design path, right,
It's not like you don't need to put some of this process stuff, last streets, you don't need to put that on there, just,
okay,
just basically the building.
okay, but the home business is intended to be orchard fruit and crops, so fruit, the vegetables, so I'll include that on the.
Yes, Jim, excuse me.
I just have a question, like, what is the clear intention of the business? You gonna have a farm stand, are people gonna be coming there to purchase, are you selling just wholesale?
I sell some wholesale when I can, and then I sell at the Rockland Farmers Market, and
So I guess my question is, are people are you gonna planning on having a farm stand there? Will people be driving up and down the driveway? Is that the intent of the business, or is it
no, there's
not
no,
meaning from the public coming to the property?
yeah, none, all sales will be off the property, yeah. But the employees will be, I'll have a couple employees that help me out. On my grade
I would
out.
say, just make that clear in your permit,
Okay,
it sounds kind
That
of.
would be a change. That would have to be a change down the road.
sure, yeah, I don't have any.
Be
to do
exactly
that.
available.
That was tough for me in the last, having a home base farm stand.
Thank you. Any other questions? Then why don't we
All set?
see you in a month?
Okay,
Oh, let's do it.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, we get up on the agenda.
That's it, yeah.
What about
Schedule
scheduling the next meeting
Thursday, no,
in July?
oh, July, whoops, I skipped a month.
July 17th.
July 17th, okay, next meeting is. Well, July
17th is fine for me.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
You know what you're doing.
I may not be here, so July. No,
Do you wanna put it another day or
if you want to, yeah,
is there a better day for you?
the next week, maybe I could do it. Long week, I
Following
have
week,
a 45th reunion that week, that day.
The 24th?
24th is fine with me.
That was fine with me. So we'll meet on the 24th then.
Enjoy your reunion.
Thank you. See, 45 years from now. Well, if we do, we'll make another change. Okay, with the no, reaction, we will be back in the meeting.
Thanks, earlier.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terry, for these beautiful packets.
Very nice job.
Beautiful packets.
Have a lot of work and all that together.